Before we start this week's pod, we've got a little bit of a plea for you. We're in the process of putting plans in place for Series 2. It's a series we very much hope will be recorded face-to-face, post-lockdown, and with the vaccine well and truly improving everyone's mental health and way of living. We've entirely self-funded this series, Series 1, and we don't have any intention of making any money out of this podcast. But what we do need to do is fund the costs needed for Series 2. So we're trying to raise a little bit of cash. If this podcast has become for you one of your regular listens and you think you can help us out, then please do. And there are 3 ways that you can help. First, we're looking for sponsors. Like-minded businesses that want to work with us, sponsor our pod and do some good. If you know of any business, brand or any other entity that you think would be a good fit with us and what we're trying to do, then please do put them in touch with us. Secondly, we have a Patreon page. We're asking regular listeners to consider becoming a patron. All you need to do is go to www.patreon.com/footballjourneys. For just £2 a month, you could make a massive difference to us in helping fund some exciting content in the future. Plus, you will get early access, you'll get ad-free content in the future, some exclusive content we're sharing only with patrons, and we've even got some competitions and prizes that we have lined up. But then finally, look, if you can't help financially, that is absolutely fine. We hope you continue to enjoy this podcast. But please do everything you can do to spread the word. Tell your mates. Like, retweet and comment on Twitter and on Instagram. Follow us on all those social media platforms. Sing our praises on socials, please. Give us 5-star ratings on and a review on Apple Podcasts. Put us up for any awards that you see are out there. Shout at your neighbour. From a social distance. Anything you can do to spread the word, it means a hell of a lot to us. But anything you can do and anything people have done is hugely appreciated. We have been so grateful for all the kindness we've experienced from people we know and people that we've not met before. Anyway, that's me waffling on enough. Thank you for your time. Now it's over to, me and Fraser for this week's podcast.
Hello. Welcome to Football Journeys, a B5 Consultancy podcast presented by me, Matt Himsworth.
And me, Fraser Franks. Football Journeys is a podcast that ignores the glitz and the glamour of the beautiful game in favour of the pain, the graft and the rejection.
For my part, I've been a media lawyer for nearly 20 years now, and I work with clubs and I work with players to help protect their reputation, their privacy, but ultimately it's about protecting the well-being of the young men and women that go through that journey through the game that we love.
And for me, I've been through that journey. I was an academy player at Chelsea and Brentford before setting on a career in the lower leagues with the likes of Luton Town, Stevenage and Newport County. Before my career ended at the age of 28 owing to a heart defect.
B5 Consultancy is about combining that experience to help players young and old to make good decisions off the pitch, but also to be there to support players when life doesn't go according to plan.
In this series, we're talking to Liverpool FC's class of 2013-14. Those lads that came through that famous academy at Kirby but didn't quite make it through to realise their Anfield dream.
This is Football Journeys.
This week on Football Journeys, we chatted on Zoom with Corey Whelan, a Cheshire boy, a Reds fan, and a lad that will fulfil his granddad's dream by pulling on the green jersey of Ireland with the under-21s. Corey captained Liverpool under-23s level, but after loan spells at Yeovil and nearby Crewe Alexandra, he didn't get to fulfil his dream of representing Liverpool at first team level. His time at Liverpool wasn't without its moments though, making his under-18s debut at the age of 14 and training with the Champions League winning squad in Marbella before they travelled to Madrid to bring home that trophy. After leaving Liverpool in 2019, he travelled to Arizona to play for Didier Drogba's Phoenix Rising. A hugely successful spell where he picked up the USL Championship trophy before returning home to the UK in November. Through no fault of his own, Corey's recent story has become one about the problems with COVID-19. Arizona was hit hard and he felt stranded away from home during a pandemic. At the time of recording, he finds himself an unemployed footballer, desperate to get back into league football during this time. Again, we make the usual apologies for sound quality whilst on Zoom. So Corey, thanks for seeing us today. Thanks for seeing us on Zoom. We're sad that we're not doing this face-to-face. Obviously, we did our first 3 episodes face-to-face and we wanted to do that with all the rest of the lads. But actually, COVID-19, lockdowns, pandemic is quite an important feature of your recent career. We'll talk to you about that during the pod. But just thanks for joining us on Zoom today.
Well, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to talk to you guys. And yeah, it's be a pleasure to talk to you.
Let's start from the early days. You're a Cheshire boy, born and bred, with some Irish heritage on your dad's side. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that side of the family, and also talk to us a bit about the inspiration for little Corey, because I know you, like most of the boys, have been obsessed with football from a very young age.
Yeah, obviously split family in terms of nationality. So my mum's English side of the family, and then my dad's side is obviously Irish as well. So he's got a lot of family still over in Ireland. Something we used to do when I was younger, to be fair, we used to go over there quite a bit. Still got loads of family. Obviously the current time with the pandemic and stuff, it's made it difficult for me to go out there and visit them. But something I used to do at a young age, used to enjoy going out to Ireland, and yeah, it was almost like a second home growing up. We went there quite a bit, and something that I miss doing. Obviously, I'm going to get back to hopefully go over when all this is blew over and visit them. Yeah, obviously growing up, just same normal family, sisters, brother, mum, dad. Just the dream was just to play football, and that's all really I thought of day in, day out. I kind of, at a young age, dedicated my life towards being a footballer, not knowing the stresses and how hard it can become. You just, it's enjoyment stage, and, you're playing with your friends on the street, whether it be on the street or at school, or then obviously fortunate enough for me, I was integrated into a pre-academy at Crewe at a young age, and that set me in good stead moving forward. And yeah, you just get caught in this whirlwind of just football. You don't really think of anything else growing up, but it was a very steady childhood for me growing up.
Your dad, like many people from that side of the RSC, was a mad red, big Liverpool fan. But you mentioned Crewe. You grew up relatively near to Crewe, and that club has got a fantastic record for bringing young lads through. And as you said, pre-academy, you went over there as a really young kid. Can you tell us a little bit about joining Crewe? And I think I'm right in saying Neil Critchley was running the Crewe Academy at that time, and obviously there's some synchronicity there.
Yeah, just come about off the back of me going to a summer camp, really. It was like, loads of lads my age, a little bit older, and again, it was nothing that I really looked. I wasn't a kid, or my dad was a pushy parent when he got to the stage where he knew that I could maybe make a career. But at that stage, it was just going to summer camp, just being around loads of lads that are local, that and then off the back of it, I remember my dad sitting me down and saying, there was scouts there that are professional clubs, and they're looking for lads to go into a pre-academy system at Crewe, and is it something that you'd want to do? And I was only like 5 or 6 at this time. I didn't really understand it at all. But obviously it was a chance for me to play football, and if it was that, then I would go and do it. And I remember going, and the first couple of sessions, I was always a really nervous kid. My mum and dad always described me as like a nervous child, wouldn't like being around a group that he wasn't familiar with. And I remember going the first couple of times, and I remember just being in the back of the car on the way home, and I was like, I don't ever want to go again. And my mum was like, yeah, that's fine. Like, you don't have to go again. And my dad on the other side of things was a bit more pushy with it. He was like, you've got to understand that this is a chance that loads of kids would want. And then I ended up going, and I just literally, after being there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I never looked back until the age of 9, 10, when I obviously eventually left the club. I just enjoyed every minute of it. I couldn't wait to finish, school and go to Crewe like 3 or 4 times a week and play every Sunday when I got of age. And yeah, just a really happy time in my career growing up. It was a great place to be around, and loads of great people that are still there now. So yeah, really great club.
It being your local club, it's one of the things we hear a lot is the massive commitments that parents have of ferrying boys around, moving them all over the place. You were effectively playing like any normal kid at your local club. It just so happened that local club was a professional club. So I guess that was at that time quite a comfortable existence. So but a bit later on, Liverpool came calling, and I think your dad's eyes lit up because he's a big Reds fan, as you are as well. So, how did that happen, and how did you end up going down to Kirby?
It was a transition of just somebody being at Crewe at the time, and so he was head of recruitment at the time, like scouting wise, and he obviously made that step to go to Liverpool. And at the time, it was just, he knew the pick of the bunch, I suppose, out of the lads my age at Crewe, and he had an idea of what he could take over to Liverpool with him, and if it would be of any interest at Liverpool. And obviously I was fortunate to be one of those. And again, it was a case of my dad again sitting me down and, going through all this like change again, a transition of going to meet a new set of lads, being the nervous kid that I was. It was daunting a little bit, but again, I think I knew at that point how much of an opportunity that was, and I knew how big of a club Liverpool were because I supported them. My dad supports them. So I just went down. I remember so clearly my first day there, and even having Liverpool training kit on was surreal at that age. You're like, well, I didn't expect this at all. I remember going, and first session again, I was integrated into the group. It was under 9, under 10s. After a couple of weeks, it just felt like home straight away. Then first couple of weeks were daunting because you're getting to know the lads, and there's a lot of boisterous lads, and you're just getting to know everybody. But after that, it just felt like home, and it was home for the best part of 12 years after that.
I asked this question actually only mindful of what we know then happened in the future, but did Neil Critchley try and persuade you to stay at Crewe at that point?
Yeah. I think he had a conversation. I've never asked him about it because obviously later on he come to join Liverpool, which was again a bit ironic. But yeah, I think he just had a conversation with my parents and said we don't want him to leave the club. We've got big plans for him here. And obviously at the time, Crewe were knocking around League One Championship level when I was a little bit younger, and so it was a tough decision, but it was one that I had to make. I just felt like it was, if I hadn't have made it, I might have regretted what could have been. Like any 10-year-old lad, if Liverpool come calling, it's very difficult to turn it down.
And what were you like as that 9-year-old boy? Confident? I mean, you say, and I absolutely am sure it was true, you're obviously the best of the group at Crewe. Did you feel like one of the best in the group at Liverpool quickly?
Best in the group, I'm not too sure, though. I was definitely, I definitely held my own when I went there. I felt like I belonged there. I did feel that way because I definitely felt like I belonged at Crewe. And I think at that age, I gained confidence off playing and being a part, because I was never, to be fair, growing up, without blowing my own trumpet, I was never the kid to sit on the bench when I was younger. I was always picked, and that again just is a confidence booster. You don't have to deal with the pressures of going home and sitting there knowing you haven't been picked as a 11, 10-year-old lad. And I never had that. I was always picked and fortunate enough to play. So I gained confidence off that. But before I got there, I was at an age where I was just enjoying it. Enjoyment obviously then turns into complications as you get older, and the business end of things come, and there's more things to worry about, financially and whatever.
Your sort of promotion up the ranks happened relatively quickly, and I think I'm right in saying you made your under-18s debut when you were 14. Was it Steve Cooper's team back then?
Yeah, I made my under-18s debut at 14 against Sunderland. Yeah, I was obviously really young at the time. I just remember being told that you're with the 18s tomorrow, and as a 14-year-old, you're like, what? I'm with the 18s. They play live on LFC TV. Surely it's not. Surely they've got this wrong. He just obviously seen something in me. I'd been training with them for, I think it was 10 days prior to that. I was obviously, coming out of school, because I was still in school at the time, midway through high school, and I was going in with the 18s in the day and stuff. And then come to the Saturday, and yeah, my name was on the team sheet to start. It was obviously surprising for me, but obviously a great proud moment for me as well, because lads usually have to wait till they're of age to play for the 18s and their scholarship starts and whatnot, but for me it come relatively early.
Was that a big jump, not just on the pitch but off the pitch, as a 14-year-old mixing with 18-year-olds? It's a big development age. You can get really young 14-year-olds and men at 18.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think from what I can remember, it was just the smaller things. I was going in a school uniform, and all these lads are, in their own clothes. They've left school, and some of them do look like men. Do you know what I mean? Some of them full-grown beards, and I still had this baby face at 14, and I'm going around them. They've even developed a little bit more than me physically in the gym, and I'd go and integrate into the gym sessions, and I think I'd watch over at someone lifting, doing pull-ups with 30 kg strapped to him, and I'm like, God, I can't do that. like, you know, you're almost in awe of being around that group at that time. Again, it was just a case of I always dealt with settling in really quickly. And once I got to know the lads, and they were, you know, they were all brilliant with me because they obviously knew how young I was. And it was daunting, again, going into an 18s dressing room and being around, you know, young adults and, you know, people that are maturing into men and lads going on loan at that age and stuff. You know, you turn from a boy to a man really quickly.
You were obviously thriving in that environment. I think one real proud moment for you came, you were called up by Ireland. So bearing in mind your Irish heritage, that must have been something that was a hugely proud moment, particularly for your dad.
Yeah, I played. It was just through because obviously Mick Beale at the time was around the obviously the 16s and that, and I just become kind of a key part to what he was doing. He come in, he liked the way I played, and he always said, you know, I want him up with the 16s, and then just got a phone call really off the manager at the time. And first trip was to La Manga. We played Czech Republic, Slovakia, and then in the Euros we played England, and you know, Tom Brewitt and Jordan Rossiter were playing for them at the time. Yeah, so I just remember being sat there and getting out of there and ringing my dad and saying, like, I've been called up. And obviously he was over the moon because Ireland as a country means a lot to him, and it meant a lot to my granddad also. You know, it was something that international, it's strange because I feel like you speak to some lads and, you know, club and international are big for them, like both of them, you know, representing the country. But me growing up, I never ever expected to get that phone call. It was just like, I'm playing at Liverpool, I'm caught in this Liverpool, all that matters is Liverpool. And I never thought about even representing, you know, anybody at an international level.
There was a time when it started to get a bit more difficult, but you're doing well in your age group, you're one of the better in your age group, you're playing week in, week out. By the time you get to the age of about 16, that's when clubs can start bringing lads in from outside of Liverpool and the Northwest. Presumably that happened in your age group, and how did that impact you both psychologically and where your career was going?
I think obviously I've watched previous podcasts, and it's something that comes up a lot is, you know, when big clubs, like you're at one of the biggest clubs in the world, you know, if you think it's naive to really think that they're not ever going to bring anybody in, and it's only going to be, you know, local lads that come into the system. It doesn't work that way. You know, Liverpool recruiting all over. Like, you know, there'd be 2-3 lads sat in the changing rooms you'd never seen before when you go in on any given day. It doesn't mean to say they'd sign, but there'd be trialing there. I never really got the full backlash of that because I always did play up until 21s level, even towards me leaving. I was always a regular starter in any age group that I was at. But you know, if especially, you know, you always ask the first question you ask everybody, what position are you? That's just a thing in football that exists. And if they're your position, you know, you want to prove in training to everybody that you're better than what they've brought in. And you do feel in constant competition. It can be tough for someone of that age because, you know, you're just maturing, you're growing up as a person, and you have all these kinds of emotions where you're like, you know, you question, do you belong here, and are you good enough to play for Liverpool? Even if you are and you are playing, you still question that inside yourself.
That brings back some memories that when when a trialist comes in, just hearing you say, first thing you think about is what position are they?
Yeah.
As soon as, if you hear someone talking about it and they are your position, your heart sinks. And I remember that feeling so well. And it is, everyone else is like, oh, at least it's not my position. And then they'll start giving you a bit of banter saying, oh, you've got someone coming and that kind of thing. And it's a strange dynamic because you also, like, you want to integrate trialists, but they're your competition. You don't really want them there. So it's a hard dynamic for them and for you. So it does bring back memories hearing you say it.
It did come a time when new players were coming into the club, players from abroad or whatever else, and your opportunities started to dry up to a certain extent. You describe a kind of a pretty confident young man who's playing regularly, playing for the teams, your age group teams that you picked for, and then that started to not happen over a period of time. I mean, how did you cope with that?
It was just the back end, like you say, when opportunities, just the gates start closing that little bit more. And yeah, it does knock your confidence. Me personally, I was fortunate enough to be able to really be confident in my early days, say 16s, 18s and stuff. And then when I got to 21s level and you go into men's footy and that, it completely changes. You're not used to not being selected to start a game, and You know, it's something that I battle with and deal with on a daily basis. When I'm not picked in a team, I question myself. It was that was when I started really maybe taking a knock here and there, self-confidence wise, and then you've got to go back to family and explain why you're not in the team, and maybe sometimes you can't give them an answer, and it's difficult. Like you say, my dad's obviously, he's a big Liverpool fan. He's a football fan in any level. So to be able to go and explain to him why you've not been picked of a Saturday can be difficult. Yeah, due to all through my youth, I never really struggled confidence-wise. It was just kind of the back end of my Liverpool career, really.
When you do come into senior football and you don't get picked and you're in and out of squads and you're on and off the bench and that kind of thing, I remember so clear, like coming through it at every club I've been at, but especially when I was younger at Brentford. I remember the team, you wouldn't find out the team till on the day. Boys would be going, as soon as that team's announced, who's on the bench, who's in the squad, boys rush off to the toilets and text their family, like, I'm in the squad, I'm starting, I'm this, I'm that.
Yeah.
And if it is, yeah, I remember so often going in the toilet going, I'm in the stands, I'm out the squad, telling my mum, don't bother getting the train because I'm not playing. And it is just like, and it is like quite demoralising. I was similar to you. I was a captain of a youth team, so you're used to playing every week. Then you make that transition to first team football, and it hits you. And I found it hard to, when I knew I weren't going to be in a squad, to motivate myself for training, and started probably not giving my best in training or not showing the right attitude, and it got me down a little bit. How was your attitude in training and things like that around the training ground? Because we're always on it, boys. Even if you know you're not going to be a Liverpool first team player, use what's there, use those facilities, use that gym, use the coaches, use the nutritionist, because when you come out of it, you start paying for that stuff on your own. So people don't realise it, and to just make the most of the environment.
18s and stuff, I'll go flip it to it, like 18s when nutritionists and that start coming. Like when you're in your first year scholar, when you go to Anfield and you do the signing, and you know you're going in the July then to be a first year scholar, and you start getting integrated into gym sessions and nutrition. And I think it's always easy when things are going right to do the right things as well. And me being at Liverpool, because when Alex Inglethorpe especially, he was a big part to play in kind of bringing me down a peg or two when he was there. And he knew I was sometimes the lad that forgot his water bottle at 16s, and he'd always be like, listen, you know, you're doing these little silly things off the pitch, but it's going to affect you in the long run going forward. You need to be the best you can be in every aspect. And even though it was something stupid as forgetting a water bottle, I'd be the only one to forget it. And he'd be like, listen, you know, you've been at an age where you've been integrated into an 18s and stuff. Now we need to start doing the off the pitch stuff to get you in the gym, eating right and stuff like that. And 18s, I really took a big step for me, because I felt like I was doing them things. I felt like I was always on time. I was never late. When in the 16s, sometimes I was late. Yeah, he just clamped down on that massively. And for me, looking back now, it was a great thing. At the time, I might have been in the changes going, oh, he's an idiot. Do you know what I mean? Why is he on at me all the time? Now I look back, I'd be like, he only done that to my best interests. And, you know, when you've got somebody like him who's technically the academy manager, he's one of the ones you're trying to impress, he's telling you to do them things. I did then take it upon myself. I was like, you know what, I'm always going to be on time. I'm not going to let myself down.
So it was in 2017-18 season where I think it was Alex Inglethorpe took you to one side and said, you need to get out, you need to play some men's football. And that's when a loan to Yeovil came about. So can you tell us a little bit about that conversation with Alex and then that experience of going down to the Southwest?
I remember going into and I think, you know, Fraser will obviously be able to back me up with this. I think there comes a time and a stage when you're in an academy system where you also do feel like you need that next step now. And I felt like I was ready, and obviously Alex thought I was ready at the time. And, you know, he was close to the assistant manager there, Terry Skiverton. And I remember sat in his office and he said, listen, you know, there's a chance for you. There's an opportunity for you to go down to Yeovil. You know, it's out your comfort zone. It's away from family and friends. It's a chance for you in that period of time. You just go and focus on football and nothing else. Don't be itching to come home. Don't be driving home at stupid o'clock. Just go there and really, you know, solely focus on being there and being around the group and trying to contribute in the best way possible. So I obviously grabbed it, you know, with two hands, the chance of going on loan. And it was obviously an exciting time. And yeah, just got the deal done at Yeovil, and the first game I was involved in was an FA Cup tie on the weekend. So
you play it down a little bit. So that first game, FA Cup third round at home to Bradford, which is a massive club. And I wonder whether it is when you come from an environment like Liverpool, to make your debut in the FA Cup third round doesn't seem incredible because your dreams and ambitions are to play at Anfield. But to play your debut in the FA Cup third round against Bradford is absolutely massive. And someone for me who's just only ever been an amateur footballer would look at that as being the holy ground. But tell us about that first game against Bradford. Was it a bit of a culture shock for you?
Yeah, it was. To be fair, yeah, it was obviously my first involvement in men's football, and you get again you hear people talk about all the time, but you don't quite know what to expect. You hear of it. Oh, it's it's rough. You need to be a man and all that. And second balls, you'll get elbowed, you'll get kicked, and you obviously when you haven't been a part of it, you don't think. You're obviously in your own head think can't be that bad. You know what I mean? It's just it's a game of football, but then your rude awakening is when you're thrown into it. And obviously I was thrown in midfield, which is a position that, yes, I can play if I need to, but it's not my, it's not my position. And remember, just the manager was like, just get ready. I think one of the lads got a knock and it was like the 83rd minute and we were winning the game. So we had to see the game out. And he said, get yourself ready, you're coming on. So obviously I was buzzing at the same time. Obviously there was a few nerves because it was my debut. I just wanted to, get through it and survive and not do anything wrong. We were winning the game. Come on, and literally 30 seconds in, the ball's gone up and I've been smashed. And I thought, oh my God, this is the real deal now, and this is what you've got to get used to. And again, I was only on for 8 or 9 minutes, but felt my way into the game and did all right. And I remember just coming off, and I remember just even them 8 or 9 minutes felt so much harder than a 90 minutes at 23's level. And it was crazy. It was definitely, it was an eye opener for me. But again, at the same time, I enjoyed it. I loved it. It was, that was real football and this is the reality of it. So yeah, it was good.
Do you think that there were some of the players around you, and Fraser will have experience of this from the flip side of it, the preconceptions about you as maybe being the big time boy coming down from Liverpool, welcome to League Two football. Did they have preconceptions of you, and did you have preconceptions of them?
Yeah, I think there always is. I think, people are sometimes scared to admit that, but I do feel before I went to Yeovil, I thought, God, I'm at Liverpool, I'm a professional football at Liverpool. I'll go into Yeovil, I'll go into League Two and I'll be the best player every day. And there is preconceptions of that. And as you're a naive, maybe 17, 18-year-old lads that are going on loan, you do think that way. And that can sometimes come back to bite you. And when I got there, I thought, yeah, I'll be better. And then you realise the standard, and some of them players at Yeovil at that time had played in the Championship and the Premier League previously at clubs like Southampton, and lads have gone on from that team at Yeovil and gone now and playing in the Premier League and the Championship. I think I had a preconception of them, definitely, and I definitely think some of the more experienced pros would have wanted to figure me out first before they got too close to me, because I'm sure that they've been playing the game a lot longer than I have, and I'm sure they've seen that Billy Big Time come from a massive club, and almost thought, oh, is he another one of them? Do you know what I mean? So, but I wasn't. I fitted in with that group perfectly. There was a lot of big characters in the changing room, and it helped me a massive amount.
One thing I'm really fascinated by was your living arrangements. I'm right in saying that you were in with another lad that was on loan, Sam Surridge, who's doing very well for Bournemouth now. But not just that, you were in with a senior player, James Bailey.
Yeah, he was the club captain at the time. He was out injured, actually. I didn't play with Bales too much because he was injured. He'd done his knee at the time, but he was club captain. He'd done it on Boxing Day, and funny enough, I arrived in January, so I just literally missed the time playing with him. But He was great with me. Just a really, funny character, really nice guy. Did everything right off the pitch, really looked after himself. And Sam, again, was the same. I think, I couldn't have been put really with two. You hear the stories of the lads going on loan in a different environment. They lose their way a bit off the pitch. But, Surridge and that weren't big. Sudge weren't a big drinker. He wasn't a party boy, didn't love going out. And Bales was at an age where he was a lot older and had an older head on his shoulders, so it worked perfectly. I enjoyed my time living with them too. They were great lads, and obviously now seeing Sam doing so well is really nice to see, because he deserved it. His time at Yeovil was a successful one, and I think he went on then to Swansea and done really well there, and he's got his opportunity, and he's playing at a good standard now. So
you spent that time at Yeovil. You then went back to Liverpool, and then another loan came up. I mean, was your mindset at that point, I'm still going to make it at Liverpool? You're 19, 20 at that stage. I've had a little taste of men's football. I've done okay in it. My next step needs to be playing for Liverpool. Or are you reaching the realisation at that point that you're going to need to take a really big step down to play League One, League Two football to sort of re-kick your...
I think more towards my time was finishing at Liverpool, and it didn't all come as a surprise to me. That was the thingy, that was the one that I could get. I mean, it still took me a long time to get my head around it when I left the club, but I think because it didn't come as a surprise to me, and I kind of knew my time there was getting thinner and thinner, and I wasn't stupid or naive to think that, I was going to stay at Liverpool forever. I knew how big the competition was getting. They signed Virgil van Dijk for 80 million. I wasn't daft. I knew that a time would come where I was probably going to have to leave the club. But when I come back off loan, you still have that, lads hold on to it for a long time because you are still so close to it. You go and train there, or you go, you're with them for a few months and you think, I've done really well there. What if there's an injury? And so you're still holding on to the fact that you could still make a career at the club, and you could be that lad that comes through and does really well on his debut, and the rest's history, because you see it happen, very minimal, not many people do it, but you do hold on to the fact that. But I think as the months passed, and I think given, obviously when I was given the captaincy for the 23s, that was a big thing for me, because I thought, well, this is Liverpool's second team and I've been chose to be the captain of it, so they must rate me somewhere along the line, but again, then the difference between 23s and the first team is massive.
Well, let's look at Crewe. So you spent some time in League Two at Yeovil. You then looks like you're going to go back and play 23s football.
Yeah, Crewe was a very last minute thing for me. It did look as if I might have to stay at Liverpool. And at that time, I think I wanted, once you have a little bit of a taste of it, you do want it again. And I wanted to, kick on and play a little bit more at Crewe. I wanted to go there, get games, go, I knew they were a team that liked to play, which suited me because Liverpool were the same way. And yeah, it was just really quiet, and Liverpool were, weren't in a rush, I don't think, to get me on loan. I don't think they were pushing it, but then on deadline day, funny enough, I was in for an evening session, and I was literally putting my boots on to go out, and Critch grabbed me and said, "You going on loan?" And I was like, "All right." He's like, "Yeah, Crewe have come in and you need to go down there. You need to get the papers signed before the window shut." And I was like, "All right, okay, yeah." So obviously took my boots off, got in the car, got all my gear together in the changes at Liverpool, and flew to Crewe, and yeah, got it all signed. And they were playing the day later on the Saturday. Went to watch the game and then went in on the Monday, and that's pretty much how it happened. And again, it all happened so quickly, as things often do in football sometimes. But yeah, I was again happy to be on loan, happy to be around the men's changing room and a professional environment, like you say, where 3 points matter.
It's really interesting looking through the Crewe team that as it is now and would have been during that season. I'm looking at the ages of the boys. I'm just showing my age by calling them boys because they're all your age. So
yeah,
you've known a lot of these lads: Harry Pickering, Tom Lowry, Charlie Kirk, Luke Offers, 21, Owen Dale, 22. These are all lads, I guess. Because you played with them when you were 5 and 6, did you?
Yeah, Callum Ainley, Charlie Kirk, Oliver Finney. Obviously, Pixie's local to me as well, Harry Pickering, so I know him. Yeah, it's just again, it was going in there, it was still the same faces. Even some of the, the staff that work around the building, like the kitchen, like Anne and Natalie, that never changed. Like it's like us coming back, like in time. It was weird. It was like a time machine. I was like, wow, these people are still here. Like so much has changed since the time I was 6 or 7 or 8. It was like, 15 years or 14 years ago, and these people are still here. And it was nice to see, because it is a very warm club. You go in the training ground every day and everybody treats each other with the utmost respect, and that's just the feeling I got, and that hadn't changed.
But do you think some of them Liverpool lads struggle to then adapt to when they have to drop down to a Crewe or, a League Two club?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously there's been loans spells that you see happen, and you see that they don't play as often as they'd have probably liked, but they were flying at a 23s club, and you think, well, how's that come about? But I think it's just the transition to like youth football to men's football. It's not an easy transition. People that have never done it, maybe the outside looking in, would think it is. You have to be, thick-skinned. You have to want to really fight to get 3 points, because everybody around you is. And if you're that one or that minority that's not at it, you'll get found out of a Saturday.
You got a number of games under your belt, which is really important for you, and things will go relatively well. You then got a call up for, which I presume must have been one of the proudest moments of your career. You get a call up for the Ireland under-21s. Tell us a little bit about that. Obviously, a very proud moment for you and your dad, but also tell it how did that impact your time at Crewe?
Obviously, I was on loan at the time, and once you've played for the country, you kind of keep an eye on your level kind of at that, and you see what lads are going to get picked and who's doing well. And yeah, I was on, obviously the Euros come about, and I remember getting a phone call. It was off Liverpool, and they obviously said they'd been sent confirmation over, obviously Liverpool, my parent club, so they were told first, and they just said, you've been called up to go away under 21s. I think it was games Azerbaijan we played in Ireland, and that was the start of the Euros. And obviously I was buzzing. I was like, God, like it's one step away from Ireland's senior team. You do well at under 21s level for the country. The first team manager come to watch the games a couple of times, and you're thinking it could be you that gets a call to go with the senior team if you do well at this level. So it was massive for me. I was buzzing to be there, but obviously again, you take the rough with the smooth and the high with the lows. I went away on international duty and come back, and obviously the team I was on loan at had got a few decent results, and I find myself not playing in an FA Cup third round game against Carlisle, and it was a bit of like it was a high but then an immediate low again. And I thought, this is just the ups and downs of football, I suppose. It's not something I'd ever try and change or ever try and have a go or be disappointed or frustrated at somebody for, because ultimately a manager's job is to get 3 points and is to keep the team winning games and keeping that not only their job, but all the coaching staff around them, their jobs as well. So yeah, obviously it was a little bit of frustration, because I felt like I'd gone and done a thing that a lot of lads would love to do, is go and represent a country. And then the downside to it was that I don't think Crewe wanted me to go. I don't think they were keen on me going, but for me to obviously already have represented them at 17s level in a Euros, I wanted to go and do it again at 21s level. It was just a no-brainer for me, and it was something that I was definitely going to do. And yeah, then you're out the team for a couple of weeks when you get back, and then obviously again doubt starts setting in, and is this going to be me now until January? Am I going to be? But fortunate for me, it wasn't. I was in and out the team at Crewe. I spent long periods in the team.
Obviously, with it being your local team, you're in the last year of your contract at Liverpool. It doesn't look as though you're going to be forcing your way into the first team at Liverpool. Was there a hope in your mind at some stage during that season that loan would end up becoming something permanent and that you'd end up becoming a permanent fixture at Crewe?
Yeah, I think it was always in my head that maybe, especially when I got to January, because obviously that's when I went back to Liverpool, was in the January. And obviously my contract ended in the summer. I think I did then, like you say before, when was the realisation set in that you think, oh, maybe I'm not going to be a Liverpool player. Maybe I'm not going to play at Anfield. Maybe that dream's disappeared. But yeah, it was something that I would have probably done in January if it come about. But I think I got caught in the mist of, maybe not doing enough on loan, or maybe doing enough, but me still having this desire of being at Liverpool and being around Liverpool, and to say to people, oh, look, I'm at Liverpool, people hold on to that when it's probably not really there anymore. I felt like I did that. I felt that I knew my time was going to come in the summer where I'd have to leave the club. And I think I wanted to enjoy that last couple of months more than I ever have, because I thought there's going to be a time where someone will ask me in the street, what do you do? And it won't be, I play for Liverpool. It'll be something different. To say as a young kid, I play for Liverpool, is always something that you're proud of throughout your childhood. So yeah, just a mixture of, and the realization set in that I probably wasn't going to be that.
It's a big part of your identity. If you sign as a 9 or 10-year-old, for 12 years you've been that kid. Everyone knows you as that kid that plays for Liverpool. Everyone in school, if you go to a family party, the first thing they'll ask is what it's like at Liverpool. Anyone new that you meet, the first thing they're interested about is if you play for Liverpool. So when that's taken away, it's tough. And that's why it is a big reason why a lot of footballers struggle when they retire, because that's all they're talked about for 20 years. Yeah. It's a big part of your identity as a young person, and it is tough for anyone when that gets taken away, especially because it's such an iconic club and a club that everyone's going to be interested in.
The one thing that no one will take away from is what happened when you came back from Crewe, because you spent a lot of time at Melwood, and it was a hugely successful season for the club. They got to the Champions League final and ultimately won it against Spurs. And I don't want to use the term you were lucky enough. You'd earned the right to be there training with the first team squad, but you were training with the first team squad at Melbourne. And I think you actually went away with them before they went away to the Champions League final.
Yeah, just a really proud moment for me, like something that I've had, that as when you're a young kid and you think of, you watch all the stars on telly growing up and you think, I just want to just give me a chance to be around that, just let me know what it's like. And obviously you dip in and out of it when you're younger. Maybe you get one chance when you're 17, or you get two chances when you're 18 here and there because you need a player in your position. But to come back off loan and be around it for a sustained amount of time is, the opportunity that I always really wanted, whether it was under Rodgers, Klopp when he come in, or anybody else that was there, was all I really wanted, was a sustained amount of time. And again, it was an amazing time for me because I enjoyed every minute of it, just seeing, the standard of what you wanted to go into and, what you're striving to become. But then again, it was frustrating and weird for me as well, because it come at a time when I knew I was leaving. Like, I kind of did know in the back of my head, like, all this is all well and good, but I'm not going to be going to the Champions League final and playing in that Champions League final. I'm going to be watching it at home. But again, obviously, I was grateful and fortunate enough for the chance to go away to Marbella with them and be, round them really up until the point there they flew away. Obviously, it was kind of, you turn from footballer to fan. Then when they go away, it's the Champions League final, and obviously one of my mates playing in it.
I don't know, it's hard to think of myself as a legend. I think, obviously, for me, I'm just a normal lad from Liverpool whose dreams just come true.
That's obviously when I had a conversation then towards the back end of that season, and that's when I kind of knew that my time was up at Liverpool. But being around so many experienced pros like Van Dijk, Salah, Mane, big names that are, icons in world football, you did learn a lot from being around them.
So you get to the end of that season, your contract's running out. I mean, is there a conversation that you have with the club at that stage, which is, we're not going to renew it, you're going to be leaving the club, and I presume you've got quite a good recollection of that, because, it meant so much to you to be a Red.
Yeah, I remember it was obviously the last day. I remember the last training session, and there was a few lads leaving at the time. Bobby Adekanye was going, Glenn McCauley was going, Conor Randall was leaving. We all remember sat in the changes, and we were all like, it's weird, isn't it? It's our last time we'll ever put our boots on, and last time we'll ever wear a Liverpool training kit. And it was again, like, I remember Critch taking the session, and Critch had obviously coached not only myself but these lads for a long time. Because obviously I was with Critchett younger, and it was just that ironic that he was taking the last training session, and it was quite emotional, to be fair. I remember getting in there and taking my boots off and then going to my car. Didn't even eat. I'd had the conversation prior, and I just got in my car and left. Driving out of there, you kind of think, God, like, could I have done more? You know, you have ifs and buts in your head, but then again, you've got to quickly come to realise that your journey doesn't stop there. Do you know what I mean? You've got to now go and make a living for yourself. And this is where it's, you know, I've always thought of it as the beginning now as men's football. And yeah, the conversation was with Alex, and it was a very honest one. I was going through some trouble off the pitch at the time with my nan passing away and stuff. And Alex was just, you know, he was really helpful at the time. He was like, listen, I know you've got stuff going on. I know you try and perceive yourself as this macho man and nothing bothers you, but I know for a fact that stuff's been bothering you of late. And it was an honest conversation. And I said, yeah, it has been, you know, my head's all over the place because I know I'm leaving here. And then family issues on top of that, you know, it does catch up to you. And I remember him just saying, listen, you've always got a place here. You know, you're not going to be a Liverpool player here because ultimately you're leaving the club. You know, don't ever think that I'll never be on the other end of the phone if you ever need it. And he said as well, he might be a time in life I need you. So, you know, bear that in mind as well. And, you know, he's just said it's been a pleasure working with you for so many years. And that was the kind of the goodbye. You struggle with it a little bit when you leave because you wake up of a morning, you think you're going to football and you're not. And yeah, there's times I took myself obviously away on holiday. I think that was the best way I could describe of me getting, you know, away from it all was to just go away for 2 weeks. So I took myself away and then come back, and that was it. Then I was like, you know, the running, the pre-season, the off-season all start again, and let's just see what the future holds, kind of.
And what was that summer like?
Yeah, England was the first protocol, really. It was all, you know, we nearly got deals over the line. Mansfield was a club that were interested. I meant, obviously, went to meet the Swindon manager, Richie Wellens. That was just something that never could get over the line. And obviously the weeks tick on very quickly, and you start thinking to yourself, like, oh, I didn't get that over the line, or didn't quite get that signed. And for any reason, whether it be financially, it didn't suit you, or whether it was just a thing that they went and got somebody else for cheaper or something like that, anything. You start to not doubt yourself, but you start to think, God, I need a club now. Do you know what I mean? You're watching other lads on Instagram or social media sign here and there, and you think, God, that needs to be me.
Is that hard when you see? You're obviously pleased for your mates when they get deals at other clubs.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, you're pleased, of course. Of course you're pleased for your mates. I'm not one to ever be, you know, jealous or be like, oh, he got a club there before me and he signed there. You know, some people look at how's he signed there? He hasn't played as many league games as me, or whatever the thing may be. Obviously, I'm over the moon for anybody that signs for any club because I know how hard it is. I know how hard it is to be in that, you know, in that no man's land, kind of like thinking, what if? And I think it's the worst time for an agent is when a lad ain't got a club and he's obviously on the phone and he understands, but you were away at him every day. If you spoke to these, they've got rid of a defender. If you spoke to them, it got to a stage where I kind of just an open book, and I thought, if anything comes about here now, whether it be in England or whether it be abroad, I think I'm going to take it. That's what happened. I remember Alex Inglethorpe said, you know, there's people that have been over it looking at Liverpool from America, and, you know, one of the owners, Brandon McCarthy, the ex-baseball player, is really good mates with Alex, and he come over to have a look at the club, and he said, is there anyone here that has left or anybody here that you know, and Alex said my name, and he was like, you know, I'll have a chat with him because it might be something that he's interested in. And then a phone call from the manager out there, and Peter Ramage, the assistant manager, just a phone call to say, listen, we really want you, we're interested in you, we like you, we've watched video of you suit us down to the ground, you know, you're aggressive, you love playing with the ball. And I was like, you know what, if it's right and the contract in front of me is right, then it's not, you know, it's a yes from me.
After his unveiling in Phoenix, manager Rick Shantz spoke about his decision to sign Corey.
What we brought him in for is because he's so versatile and he can play a lot of different positions.
And do you view Whelan breaking into the team here first, or do you think he'll have a spell in Tucson before that?
No, he'll be with us right away, but we got to get him accustomed to the weather and and then accustomed to the way that we play. You know, he's a very good with his feet, good passer of the ball, plays out of the back extremely well. So I think he's going to give us kind of that added element, you know, something that AJ brought, and Mala and Joey have both stepped up their game as well, because that's who we are now and it's how we want to play. So we expect Corey to come in and compete, you know, and once he gets used to the weather and ready to go, and maybe get an opportunity.
A lot of lads would love to be, you know, go and travel the world or go and see, and you know, at the end of the day, they're a good club. You know, obviously big names like Didier Drogba finished his career out there, and Sean Wright Phillips has played for the club.
Yeah, just to summarise on that one, Corey, it's Phoenix Rising is the club. So that's in Phoenix, Arizona, which is, I mean, the desert. That's super hot. So
Yeah.
It's in the USL Championship, so that's one tier below the MLS. And as you said, Didier Drogba retired there and had some good times there. Sean Wright Phillips. So you know, it's proper. And actually, just to run through some of your teammates there. There's a guy called Solomon Asante, 21 caps for Ghana. Rufat Dadashov with 24 caps for Azerbaijan. Kevin Lambert, 9 caps for Jamaica. I mean, it's proper football. It's a brand new experience, and you're going out July 2019. It's strange for us to think with this with 2021 specs now. This was pre-pandemic, so this is a really exciting opportunity.
Yeah, it was. When you go into sign for the club, you do your background or your homework on it a little bit, and you think, oh, I wonder what lads have got there. You know, is it? You know, have we got a chance of winning things and stuff? Is it a proper? You know, is the lads established and played games? And I obviously watched before I went over there, I stayed up late at night and watched a few of the games. And first 2 games, I think they won 4-1 and 3-0. And I was like, bloody hell, this is a good group of lads. You know, this isn't a standard that, even though maybe some people will look at it and be like, oh, we didn't quite know about them. But, you know, they definitely, a lot of, you know, people know about them now, because obviously Didier Drogba is part owner of it. And it was a really good group of lads. And yeah, it was exciting times for me. Obviously, it was something that I'll say I didn't really decide overnight. It was kind of, I needed some time to think about it. And I remember going there, I got there the end of July, start of August, and obviously they're halfway through their season. The season runs differently out there. So I was playing catch up a little bit in terms of fitness and obviously match fitness and games. They've been playing since, you know, February. So I remember going in and just speaking with the manager on day one, and he said, you know, once you're match fit, you're going to start for this team. Like, we believe in your ability. You've got a good background. You've played international football at a good level, been at Liverpool for so long. And I remember just trying to get my body ready in the heat. Like, it was hard. It was really tough at first. I remember I went on they said I needed to go on a little pre-season kind of thing where I was around the group, but I'd also have to do extras after with the sports scientist and stuff. Remember that 3 weeks was done, and then we were playing away in Colorado, and the manager come to me in the hotel and said, you're going to be starting today. And I was, you know, it was the first time I played a game in God knows how long. I think it was like 5 months. I was just like, oh, like I'm buzzing, you know, like I've been waiting for this moment to just be a part of a starting 11 again. And yeah, played the game. Done really well, won the game 3-0. And
he did a really good job. I was a little worried about his fitness and the altitude and if he would finish the game, and Corey was fantastic, and I'm glad that he's with us.
Then I went on a run of games then and played 11 games that season for the club into the playoffs. We obviously got beat in a playoff semi-final, and that was that season over with. And then obviously I knew I was going back over there the year later, so I was raring to go and play as many games for the club as possible.
How did you find the lifestyle? I think it was 2 years before you signed there. 2 of my mates were playing for Phoenix Rising. Luke Rooney I think he scored their first ever goal. And then there's Sean Wright Phillips and a couple of other English lads. And I remember speaking to him about the lifestyle, and he absolutely loved it. How did you find it away from football?
I don't think I properly experienced the lifestyle as full as I could have. It was because I was the 1 year I was there for the full year was the pandemic, so we were locked down for a lot of it. So it was. Don't get me wrong. When I went over in the August, my first half season there really, but the lifestyle's just so different. It's like you're out the door in the training at like 11, and it's like you've got the whole day to yourself. You go on a golf course, and you know, it is a lifestyle that you could easily get, roped into. I suppose it's an easier lifestyle, as well as the demand on the games, and flying to games and stuff is a lot harder, but it's just a total different lifestyle. And all the lads that are there, like, no one wants to leave, because they're just like, I love it here. Like, I'm playing football and doing what I love and winning things, and also the lifestyle's unbelievable. And for me, after the pandemic and the year and being locked down over there with no family, luckily my missus now, at the time, she got over for March till June. So that helped a lot in terms of having someone there. And then when she left in June, it again was tough, because you couldn't go out and do anything. America got obviously hit really hard, like obviously everywhere in the world did, but America at that time was really bad. And I think Arizona was like the third affected place in the whole world at the time. So the number of cases, you couldn't leave the house. And that was something, again, that was really hard for me. I struggled mentally in that time. And then when we got back up playing again, it kind of eased a little bit then.
In terms of how the season then plays out, I mean, I don't think they had. Do they have promotion to the MLS, or they have a player?
No. Yeah, it's the obviously something that the American, Association of Football and the MLS and stuff, because it's two different franchises. It's the relegation and promotion. The MLS, it doesn't make any use to them financially, having, USL teams come into the league. So it's something that may change over the years. I think it would be nice if it did, because I think it would give opportunities for teams that have done well below the MLS to go into the MLS. And I think Phoenix as a club would definitely cope in the MLS. I believe that they do really well. We played MLS teams in pre-season, and, we beat every single one of them. So that shows a lot to do with the standard that's at Phoenix, and there's a lot of good players, international players as well. So yeah, it was a winning team. I won 2 trophies there at my time there, and obviously you look back at your career in the end, and I had a successful 18 months there, and I really enjoyed my time there. It was nice to go out winning a trophy as well. Obviously I left the club in November, and it was nice to leave on a high, I suppose.
Was the uncertainty of the pandemic one of your drivers for wanting to come back home, be with your family, etc.?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think, I've got commitments back home and stuff. I've got a girlfriend now, and just being out there on my own for a lot of the year. Obviously, my girlfriend visited over there, but just wasn't not enough time. And I think that was one of the drivers of me coming home. It's just been a strange year, and I also miss, playing in England. I miss being at home and playing football in England, the English game, the English style of play and stuff. And I just think there was a lot of factors. There was more factors of me outweighed me leaving than staying. So I think that made my mind up. Again, like you leave any club, it was strange because of, I'd met these lads, spent the best part of 18 months around a lot of the lads, and obviously to then just be like, oh, bye, and probably never see each other again. That was one of the drivers for me to come home. I think I want to now test myself again in the Football League and get back to playing at that level, or whatever level it may be for me next. And so that's why I made the decision to come back.
There's obviously a difference in the seasons between the US and England, which means that you come home mid-season. So that means mid-season you're without a club. This is an obvious question to ask, but what is it like being a professional footballer without a club during the COVID pandemic?
Yeah, it's tough. It is difficult. It's really, I'm sure you both spoke to lads prior to me, and they'll say the same thing. It's really hard, because it's all I've ever knew, just like playing football. And obviously you've had breaks away from football, you have off seasons every year, but you still know you're going back to a club. There's still that security there, and there's still that, well, it doesn't, whatever pans out, and got a club, do you know what I mean? Like, security for me is massive, and as you get older, that's all you can really ask for in football, is security, and financially stable, and enjoying football and being at a club. And in the pandemic, it's been tough. Like, worse things have happened to people around the world, so I don't want to kind of make this self-centered and want sympathy for it, but it's difficult. Again, you've been used to being at a club for so long, and with me being at Liverpool for 12 years, it's all I ever knew was football. And when you're without it, it's nice sometimes to have a break and relax and recharge your batteries, but then that break becomes a little bit extended, and you think, oh, I'm missing it now. Like, I want to get back into a club. I want to have feeling again, you know, when you sign and it's new at a club and it's your first day and it's exciting and you want that feeling back. But yeah, it's been really difficult. Like you say, it's January now and you're sitting tight waiting for the phone to ring, and you just want that one manager to put his trust in you and be like, you know, we believe that he'll suit our outfit and he'll make, you know, he'll help the team and help towards what the club want to achieve. So yeah, at the minute, that's just the kind of stage I'm in, is just keeping myself fit and ready, and, you know, obviously close contact with my agent and anybody else in the game that may be able to help your cause. And you just kind of got to sit tight now and, you know, hope for the best and with your fingers crossed. As long as you're doing all you can away from it, keeping fit, because some lads can go flat, some lads can go for the beer over Christmas, and some can choose to go that way. But I don't think, you know, the situation I'm in at the minute, it allows me to do that. I think I've got to, if I'm really serious about pushing on and getting to where I believe I can get to, then I've got to give myself the biggest possibility I can.
Corey, brilliant. Look, thanks so much for spending your time. As I said, you know, you are someone I think will be an asset to any League One, League Two club, and we hope that maybe even by the time we put this pod out, or certainly in the near future, you find yourself a club. But in any event, thank you so much for your time, mate.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure speaking to you both, and obviously, I hope 2021 is a successful one for the pair of you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Football Journeys, and thank you to all those who supported us. Do come and find us on social media at JourneysPod on both Twitter and Instagram, where we'll be sharing more content. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us on footballjourneys@b5consultancy.com or visit our webpage, b5consultancy.com/footballjourneys.
This podcast is produced by B5 Consultancy alongside Ricky Valentine, who himself had an academy journey with me at Brentford FC. Special thanks goes to the Hope Street Hotel for their hospitality and Liverpool FC for supplying some of their archive footage.
Lastly, thanks to the lads for telling their stories and to the contributors who gave up their time to share their memories of the lads. Please do like and subscribe. If you feel we deserve a 5-star rating, then please give us one. The more successful this podcast is, the better chance we have of producing more episodes and further series.